Okay, so Tyler, I want to welcome you back to my channel. We had spoken previously, and you had told us about how you had lived in the neighborhood with Sarah Boone at the
Hmm.
same apartment complex, and you had told us some stories of some run-ins that you had with her. I guess some passerby things, and I wanted to kind of, since we talked, some of the channel members have put in some questions that they wanted to ask you. So I have a list here that I wanted to go down, and you can kind of, we'll just go from there.
She came over to my door
She
many
knocked
times.
on your door. Okay.
She would knock on my door, and then she would go in the back and knock on the patio glass door.
Are you
And
kidding me? When you didn't answer the front door, she would go to the back door and knock?
no, yeah, a lot of times she would be like plastered, and she would be looking through because my blinds, I had those plastic long blinds, and a lot of them are broken. So I had like a gap there for a brief moment before I fixed it. But I've caught her one time because a lot of times when she would come over, I'm not in the mood to deal with people. Like sometimes when I'm not in a good mood, and back then I was like I said, not in my right place with like my addiction. So a lot of times I would be detoxing and very, very sick, and I don't want to even talk to anyone, period, So,
Yeah.
but yeah, you can ask me anything you want. I'll try to like
Well, how long did
answer.
she? Well, no. How long did she stay at your back door knocking?
She came over only one time. So she rang, so she always would ring the doorbell, like she would hold the doorbell on. And then she walked in the back because there's nothing around there. And I at one time had these really nice folding chairs that you could actually wear as a backpack. I got at REI. She came in the back and just like knocked, and she was barefoot. And I'm trying to think what she was wearing. She always wore like very short shorts. I remember I would have mentioned to you that she reminded me of my mom, like, because my mom was like a drunk. Plus, among other things, like my mom had a lot of mental issues, but my mom was like skin and bones like Sarah, and my mom also had very short hair, just like Sarah. And I don't know, I kind of like, she always reminded me of that, of my mom. That gave me trauma, kind of, but I still dealt with her for some reason. I did one thing I did notice about her is she always stunk, like her mouth, like she always stunk of like cigarettes, really bad, and she always had bad breath. And like I said, she didn't have like the best,
Hygiene.
dental. Well, she didn't have the best dental. Like George had like literally no teeth.
Yeah.
He had stubbles. Like if you're a born baby, you have little stubbles. He had no teeth. So I already knew he was on meth because he's in his 40s. When I met or seen him, he was in his 30s when he came over with an attitude. One thing I was going to mention is my ex-wife, like we're from Hawaii, so my ex-wife, we were married, and she made lumpia, which is like a Filipino like egg roll, and
Oh.
we offered it. I gave some to Sarah, and it was the weirdest thing. I gave her like six lumpia, and she came back. She says, "Oh, I don't think I'm comfortable taking these." And I was like, "I don't want them. You throw them away. Like, why would you bring back food I gave you like an hour ago?" And I was like really offended.
That was weird. So she just, like, instead of saying thank you, she comes back in an hour later and says, "Yeah, no, we don't want them," type thing.
No, she came over, and my door was a screen, so I leave my door open. I get the breeze. She came over one time and said, "Whoa, what's that smell?" And I said, "My wife is cooking lumpia." And she's like, "What are they?" And I explained to her. She's like, I said, and then because I always offer stuff to people all the time. I said, "Would you like some?" And she's like, "Well, if it's not too much." And I said, "Yeah, let's like." She has to fry them up. Like you have to pre-roll them. It's like a whole procedure, and then you have to fry them. And I gave her, and they were really good. Like in
Yeah.
Hawaii, they sell them at the food trucks and stuff. They sell them like when you walk into Kmart, when the Kmart was open, they would have them there. So,
Yeah.
anyways, she brought them back like an hour later, and my ex-wife was on the couch, asked me who was that, and I explained, and she's like, "What?" She's like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "This is what happens, Tyler, when you meet friends with the crackheads here." And I remember because my ex-wife is not like, she's not a friendly person. She's not gonna make conversation with people. Like me, I'm always like with my dog, and I'll meet people, and they'll talk, and I'll talk about my whole freaking life. Because when I was like high on like oxys all the time, I was always rambling on, and I probably would like
Oh,
talk about,
okay.
when your life sucks and everything's horrible, and you have that one person that you like being friends with because they're more of a loser than you are. So that's, to be honest, that's how it was with my life. I wasn't working at the time for like almost a year until I got a job because I was trying to get on with the state, and I couldn't do a transfer from California there. They didn't have reinstatement rights, so I had to reapply, and I was trying to get a city job. But yeah, Sarah, in my opinion, was worse than me. Like I kept up with my hygiene. I have all my teeth. I'm not like a dirty person, but yeah, she was like completely worse than me.
Ugh. Can you see the picture I have on screen?
Yeah, I see an apartment complex with an arrow.
Yeah, you see, I've got your unit highlighted, and then I've got her building over there highlighted. What I'm picturing is you were back in the back of your unit walking your dog around that area, and she would always be out in the back and come out and say hello to you. I guess is how y'all ran. Is that kind of how y'all ran into each other?
Well, the first time I ran into her was at the mailbox in the front. Um, I was having a trouble opening it, and then she was over there bare. She always walked around barefoot all the time. And she said, "Are you having trouble with your mail key? Call this number. I know the manager." And she always claimed that she knew them really personally. Like she said, "Call them. They'll help you." And all she gave me was a maintenance number, and they couldn't do anything because they don't own the post. They don't own the mailboxes. It's the post office, So that's when I first met her, and she never she didn't say what her name was. She just like told me like, call this number, and then she like just disappeared. No, I took my dog Brutus out. I had an English bulldog, like two of them. Brutus is the one that passed away, but I had two, Brutus and Elvis. I have Elvis now. I never took out both of them at the same time because this is too difficult. She always talked to me about my dog, but it was weird. She never bent down to pet my dogs ever. My bulldogs were very cute.
I love bulldogs. Yeah.
And then she had like, when she first moved in, that's why when I read a couple of the comments, people were like, "Oh, George lived there from day one," and blah blah blah. And I don't know why they're saying that because they might have been like dating, but I'm telling you, when she moved in, it was that guy. That guy. Like I said, Brian to me was creepy as hell because he's like cross-eyed.
Did you hear any of the other neighbors complain about Sarah and George?
No, I like I said, I only spoke to Sarah once in a while, and then there was a family that was pretty cute. That was like a Samoan family, and I spoke to them once in a while. There was a maintenance guy that worked there and there was a couple accusations made against him when I was living there that I heard from. There was also other maintenance workers there, and I never called them because they didn't know how to fix shit. They were like the worst people in the world.
Did you say you mostly saw her late at night, or you said you saw her when you walked your dog? Was it mostly at night, or was she also a day drunk? Because I've heard she was a day drunk.
Oh yeah, I do remember the first time she came up to me. She did make like an accusation. She's like, you have to pick up after your dog, And I said, I have a fucking bag in my pocket. And then she's like, "Whoa." And then when she said like that, like, "Whoa," I already knew that she was drunk because like when she was like talking to cops, she's like, "George, I don't know what happened." Like she's like completely drunk. Like I said, she drank like the same wine as my mom, like in the box. My mom would squeeze that bag. She would cut the box open, and there's a bag in there, and she would squeeze it to the last drip. The reason I knew she drank those boxes is because a lot of times when she would get out of her car, she would hold one under her arm and another one she would hold on the handle. She had two all the time.
Did you see what I made? Because you told me that. Did you see what I made? Look.
Yeah, that's exactly the wine. I remember it starts with the F. It's like it's like France something, but that's
Franzia.
The exact. Yeah, that's exact wine.
Did you ever hear about how George pitched a tent over there on the building on the other side of you?
No, like a lot of these stories like might have happened like when I left, like when we moved out. And yeah, like I said, the one time he did come over and like kind of like I think he was just kind of like they were both jealous people, and I think he was jealous that I was talking to her because I was in my middle, like late, like I don't know, say 30s. And so he just like went over there and he didn't even say hi to me. He was completely rude. He went over there and he's like, "Sarah, we gotta go," and like literally like, and she's like, "Okay," she's like, "You need to go now," and like really demanding. And, like he didn't come over and say, "Hey, how are you doing? Like, what's your like? My name's George. What's yours?" And then he walked away, and I said, "What the fuck's his problem?" And she's like, "I don't know. He drinks a lot." And I was like, "Bitch, you drink every day too. Like, about Sarah, she was in denial. Like with
Yeah,
me, when I snorted pills all the time, I would tell people what I do because like I'm not ashamed of where I've came from. Like I'm in recovery for like 8 years now, so
that's
or whatever.
amazing. I just,
I like stop.
you had said, you had mentioned that you heard something, or some memories had come up since we talked about things that had happened with Sarah. So I was just gonna let you tell us about them.
I like living alone. I don't want to live with somebody like how Sarah lived with that one dude, and I like how everything is now. But
All right.
and so regarding, I probably, like I said, ran into her. I would say like you know over 9 times. Like it was pretty consistent. After the third, actually after the second or first time, she came over and asked for money. First, she came over and asked. She came over around 10:30 at night asking for money for the laundry. Um, she's like, my machine's broken. Can you give me money? And I knew she needed the money for cigarettes. I'm not stupid. And I said, you want the money for cigarettes, right? She's like, yeah.
All right. So tell me what you were talking about with Sarah, and you had met her at the mailbox, and then George. I wanted to ask you about her and George as far as size. One of our subscribers asked about if you thought that they were around the same size.
Oh yeah, he was. Like I said, he was a lot smaller, and plus, he was very, very. Like I said, he was very, very, and he always wore like these baggy shorts and.
Guess some people wanted to ask you about Sarah's personality as far as like, did she ever get snippety? Because she seems like the type of person that she was mean a lot.
When I first met her, she wasn't like I said, she was trying to think of that whole thing with the food thing. She had an attitude. Like when I said, when she came back and I said, what? And she's like, oh, I don't feel comfortable taking this. Oh yeah, let me just get to another thing before I forget.
Okay.
I had bought these things at REI because I always bought things from them. Like I like to camp a lot, so I bought this kind of like this patio bench that folds up and it's really cute, and you unfold it and it's like a bench,
Yeah.
And it was originally $80, but I got it on sale for $20, and I bought 2 of them. I didn't really like the way they looked because I thought they would have like a back. So instead of me going all the way to the store, returning them and spending a lot to ship them back, I asked Sarah if she wanted it for $20, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll take it." So when I brought it, I did bring it outside, and I opened it up to show her how you can just open it up and do all that. She took it. She gave me the $20, and she left.
Oh.
Literally a week later, I was in the back. Because in the back of the patio area, me and my dog there's a grassy area that had trees that we would sit under.
Yeah.
She came huffing and puffing over there, and literally she was holding the bench, and literally the bench still had the tag on it, and literally came over there almost whipped it at me, and she says, "I don't want this." I thought it was going to be one of those pool chairs that I can lean back and crank it up and down and have a recline. I said, but I opened it for you and I showed you exactly what it was. It was just a bench. And she's like, "Well, I don't want it." And I said, "Well, I don't have your money because I put it in the bank and I don't, carry cash on me." And she's like, "Well, you don't have to pay me now. Just pay me whenever." And then when I mentioned that to my ex-wife, because I was upset, she's like, "You don't have to give her shit back because, it's not like you're a store." But I gave her back her money that day. Because I thought she was going to report me to the office and say that I was trying to trick her to buy things from me and trying to scam her. I was that was the first couple months I lived there, and I was upset that she was going to, tell me, because she came across as somebody who always told on people, and she told me stuff about making claims.
What would she say?
Underwear thing. She's the.
Sorry.
Remember I mentioned about the maintenance being accused of the stealing of the underwear or undergarments for the thing?
No, I don't
think I mentioned that to you.
I don't think so. Tell me about that.
There's in that apartment complex, there's 4 or 5 guys that work there. The guy that was probably giving the interview, I don't know, maybe he was a supervisor, but there's a bunch of maintenance workers, and there was like 2 golf carts, and this is a pretty big complex. You can submit a work order on your app, and then they come like the next day or whenever. I heard from one of the guys that I used to talk to a lot when he came over one time. He was in the house and fixing something, and he was like telling me what happened, that the manager might want to install body caps on the maintenance workers. And I said, why? If you guys are maintenance workers. He said, because somebody made an accusation that we stole like panties and bras. And so that was Sarah. She's the one that made that accusation that somebody stole her panties and bras.
Oh my God.
He's the guy that told me that. He didn't tell me Sarah because he wasn't allowed to tell me because he can get in trouble. He just I had to literally kind of get this information out of him. I was being nosy, what happened? And the guy's like, just somebody made an accusation that somebody stole underwear and some undergarments. I said, like a woman or man? He's like, yeah, a woman. And he's like, I said, what woman? He's like, I can't say that because then I can get in trouble. And then I was talking to it with Sarah the next day about what I heard, and she's like, yeah, they stole my panties. And so I knew it was her because she said it. And do you know that the office had to? I think she lied because the office had to reimburse her $80.
Are you serious?
She had made a claim. In order to live there, if you don't get their renter's insurance, you have to pay an extra $16 a month. So she went through her renter's insurance claim, and I guess they have to contact the apartment complex and retrieve the money from them, and then they pay out to Sarah. So whatever insurance she had, they had to pay her. And I guess the way I heard it from it was she was making $80 for underwear and bra. I'm pretty sure she probably said she had a Victoria's Secret or whatever.
Yeah.
But she made that. I think she was she didn't have a job or money, and she was always finding ways and there's a retention pond there that before used to be a lot smaller. People used to throw money in there all the time, quarters. I don't know, a lot of Hispanic people, I'm not racist or anything, but they're kind of superstitious. They throw money in there for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's like a wishing well. Like a wishing well.
I saw that online sometimes that some people.
Like a wishing well.
Yeah, so I heard there was a lot of times. Yeah, I heard a lot of times she was always taking quarters out of there and just taking money. She was always doing bizarre shit. That like I said, when she moved in, I didn't have a job, so I know she didn't have a job because I seen her every fucking day. When I started working, I never seen her because I would go to work and I would get home. I would work from 5 to 1:30 in the morning. I would get home, go to sleep, and then wake up and go to work the next night. Then I rarely seen her the last 3 months I was there because I had a life, I had a job.
Yeah.
But yeah, she definitely, she didn't have a job or anything. And like I said, when that person made that comment that, he lived there from day one. First off, he didn't live there because it doesn't matter if you have to have some type of Sarah, the reason I think she was able to live there because they don't rent to people who have, a criminal history. If you have any felonies, they don't rent to you. And also if you have bad credit. So I don't know how she was able to rent that place without a job.
I think
I was able to get that place because
I think her ex.
I think Brian honestly was on the. Yeah, because like I said, when they moved in, he was there all the time. I think he was on the lease because, like I told you, I don't give a fuck. I wasn't on the lease for the first year because it was just my ex-wife. And like I said, the reason I had to be put on the lease because somebody told somebody and got back to somebody, and we got a notice on our door and said it's come to our attention that you have somebody living here that's not on lease. If you don't put them on lease within 24 hours, we would be forced to evict you. Okay, so I already knew who said it because when I was open to Sarah about me not being on lease, within I told her this information on a Thursday. We got that paper on our door on a Monday. So I already knew it was her. I didn't tell anybody else. I highly doubt my ex-wife didn't tell anybody because she didn't talk to anyone. So I think I don't know. I feel like she was trying to be nice to me, but also sabotage my life at the same time. But I was so nice to her. Like I said, I gave her money all the time. the one time she did have money and give me $20 just for that chair. You know that picture you have with the patio furniture? When did you get that?
Yeah, so that was on George's Instagram in 2017. I don't know if I have the exact date, but yeah, it was around 2017. And I think it was probably a summer, maybe the summer.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, I think it was like the summer of 2017 is when he posted it. Did you not ever see that furniture?
Because Sarah, there was nothing back there. That's why she wanted that. Sarah was she was like, that's why she reminded me so much of my mom. My mom would give me Christmas gifts when I was younger, and the next day she would return them because she needed money. The very next day, and I was happy. At one time, I got like this really nice boom box with the 2 tape decks, like in the 90s. So Sarah was known, and she told me that she sold stuff all the time on Facebook Marketplace.
That doesn't surprise me.
I'm pretty sure you might be able to find posts late. She sold stuff on there all the time and I'm pretty sure that patio furniture she sold because at first when she moved in, I don't think she was getting alimony. And then I think she was technically married to yet, because I don't know when they got divorced, but when they moved in, it was that guy Brian, whatever his name is. I thought that was her father because he's like very old looking, and he drove that Kia, and then he like gets that rate mobile, the Prius. But yeah, he had the Kia, and she had, like I said, the Daewoo or something. I think it was maybe like a Hyundai, but she had like a little mini 2-door car.
Yeah, I think that what happened was, I think what happened was, you were there when she was there early on, and she eventually, I think Brian sold her or kind of gave her his car, and that's how she ended up with the white Kia. But I could see, think about it, Tyler. She didn't have anybody else, so she was dependent upon Brian for everything. So he basically, to get her out of his life, he had to help her get set up into that apartment.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I was going to mention is, and I gave her a lot of stuff for her house. That's why it's sad because when I moved here to this apartment, I gave away a lot of the stuff when I bought a new air fryer, and I had an air fryer that was never used. I offered it to the lady below me, but I gave her a really nice tea kettle that was it was the company. It was called Fellows. It was FELLOW, and it was like it had a base that it sat on. It was like a gooseneck tea kettle. It was really pretty, and you can make, because I was like really into coffee back then.
Yes.
You know what's the thing about Sarah is when she's like always mentioned about talking to her brother. When I would talk about, because I have 2 older brothers that I've never seen or heard from, and for 30 plus years, and when I try to communicate with one of them, they told me that you're not my brother. I haven't seen you in 30 years. You know, we're not even related. Like, literally told me off. So Sarah told me the same thing, that she had a brother that was in the military, because I have a brother named Todd that's in the military, and she told me that like they're not close. And I think what happened was she was always borrowing money from everyone, and she probably got money from him and never paid him back.
Yeah.
Remember I mentioned about okay, so with me and with my teeth, like keeping them clean, and like at one point, even when my ex-wife joined the military, I had so the military, I don't know why they covered it, but I got veneers in the front because I had like a cracked tooth I had cracked my tooth when I was 16, and they put a crown over, and then over time with me smoking, it discolored, So when I quit smoking, I wanted I didn't have like ugly teeth, but I wanted to fix that because you can tell there was like a crown there. So then I was always I knew everything about like how much dental work costs and everything. So Sarah confided in me. I think the first conversation, she was telling me that she's having tooth pain, and she literally opened her mouth and was trying to show me the tooth in the bottom. And I was like, okay, that's good. And she's like, it's infected. It's a cavity. And I said, Sarah, when you go to because she had an appointment with this. Okay, there was a place called Western Dental, and it's like if you look them up, they're extremely ghetto. And when they were popular back in the day, they had like when you go in there, there's like booths next to each other with a curtain, and the doctor would have blood on him and go to patient to patient. It was really horrible place. She went there, and I said, Sarah, when you go there, they're going to say you need a root canal because you haven't fixed your crown. No, your cavity. It turned into a root canal. And then they're going to convince you to pull your tooth because it's cheaper, and it's like $50, or you can get a root canal for $1,000. I said, don't do that because you're going to have a gap there that you're going to regret. So she went there, and they pulled her tooth, and that's why she had that retainer in, that she had a gap. For the first couple months, she had a big, every time she would talk and smile, you could see the gap on the side of her mouth. So that's why she had that thing there. Whatever she had put there that came out. But not to be like weird or something, but I hope that somebody communicates with her, because I don't want your viewers or somebody to think I'm bullshitting, because, you know, I don't have a reason to like lie. Like the stuff I'm saying is just stuff that it's like, I don't know, doesn't make me look any good to know that I know her, because I don't know how that would benefit me by me knowing, you know.
No, I don't think that you've actually got a lot of people, I would say, but 95% of the people, which is mostly my viewers, they're like, I think this guy is legit. I think they know that I'm not going to put you on if I didn't vet you, if I didn't find you credible. You had already told us the way you felt that the way you thought she got him into the suitcase. I'm just kind of wondering with you, like, if were you surprised when you heard about all of this and you recognized her? Did it surprise you at all?
To be honest, I didn't even follow this on any court shows or anything. Only reason I knew about this because I was like watching the Wade Wilson, and they're all in the same county, I think, in Orlando. So I was starting watching Meredith's 2 Cents, and then she's like really into your channel, and then I started watching yours, and then I seen that chick with the body cam when she came over. Anyways, when I saw that apartment complex, I was like, hey, that looks like the same place I lived. So I looked it up, the address, and I don't know, her hair looked a lot different. I don't know, she was a bit more like how she looks now, like a little chunky, you know?
In 2017, 2018 is when you knew her, when you were there, right?
Yes. And like I said, she always had really, like, she had really, like, stat cheeks, like a beaver, you know?
Yeah.
And Sarah's like one of those people that if you're stuck on a desert island and you don't have anybody, I would rather have sex with coconut than her, because she's so, I don't know, she's so repulsive. I don't find her any way attractive. It doesn't matter what she wears. I mean, she ruins it she's a very unappealing looking woman. And plus the way she talks and acts, and yeah, and she kind of screwed herself on the stand by saying that she was too technically drunk, because in the interrogation, she didn't say that she was like in fear for her life that whole night. She said, we had a good day. It was a good day. It was one of our best days. George, like, you know, she kept saying that she has to like keep his mind occupied. What I think happened was, I think she went to go hide and seek, and then I think they got into some kind of altercation that she must have like rendered him unconscious or whatever, and she put him in a suitcase. But like I said, that one guy that you had on that said that Brian was there to help her get rid of the body, and that's what she wanted. I mentioned that to you before, and that's what I think she called him for, to get rid of the body.
Well, I was going to ask you if you felt like Sarah was vindictive, like with all of the times that she called the police on George and everything. I just wondered, I see a vindictive streak in her, and I don't think that she intentionally tried to kill him. I think she was just being stupid, but she was trying to teach him a lesson. And I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that, as far as if you think she has the mindset to have premeditated anything.
No, well, actually, what I think is, so you know how she always says, George is like the boy who cries wolf. You know, he's like, Woolworth's me. The day that he got arrested and she was like happy and dancing, and she's like telling the cop not to arrest him, I believe that day that they had a restraining order.
Yeah.
And bailed out George or Jorge out of jail all the time. Sarah would call Brian and have him do it. So that particular day, I believe Sarah called Jorge up and convinced him to come over for sex or something, like convinced him. And he came over, and she called the cops and set him up, because when the cops came, she's like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And then I think that's why she reminds me of my mom, because my mom would do weird shit like that just to get pleasure. Like, she would get pleasure on doing things to see me in pain. I think Sarah liked him in pain because it made her feel
pleasure, and also, when he was in a suitcase, she had all this like pride, like all this pleasure.
Yeah.
She was sitting there. She had like the remote to his life, and I believe that she probably did everything she said in the suitcase, like beat him and all this. And I believe she turned off her phone and probably said, "Fuck you, George. I'm going to bed. Good luck dying." And she probably said a few words to him, and she knew he was going to die. I mean, like, she wasn't like I said, there's been a couple of times that I'm pretty sure she's like snitched on me regarding my dog. Okay, so when we moved in, we had like, I know like there's a lot of your viewers saying that I was like, whatever the term was for not telling people that I had an animal. But when we moved in, it was $500 deposit. And so I think somebody said in there, like in your comments, like if he has money for a dog, then he should have money for deposit. The thing is, if you have like a service animal or a companion, they have to waive the fee. So I was waiting to get that note from my doctor before I went to the office. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't worry about that, Tyler.
So
people are stupid. But
she and people said in your, that's what they said in your comments. Oh, what does Tyler expect? He's always walking his dogs. First off, when I walked my dogs, the maintenance and all these people, they weren't really back there at all because we were in the back.
Yeah,
they never came back there unless they had to. Yeah, and then the only maintenance guy that saw my dog, he didn't even, like, the maintenance people, they don't know every tenant, and he didn't even know who I was because I wasn't supposed to be living there for the first year. But like I said, I took my dogs out before they were on like paper, like maybe twice a day, because I was sneaking them around. But like I said, when she knew I didn't have them on paper, then we got the thing the very next day. So I think she called every time. And it's my fault for saying something to her because, like I said, I was like down on my luck, like a junkie, like, anyone who's doing like 20 Vicodin a day, in my opinion, at the time, I was like a junkie. And she was like a completely, I don't know, she was like worse than me. So it was kind of like when I was talking, it's kind of like when you see like really somebody, what do you think all these pretty girls in high school have like kind of that one ugly friend,
Yeah.
I don't know. They kind of like boss around.
Yeah.
Like I kind of felt like, I think that, to be honest, like maybe she thought she was better than me, but.
So let's talk about Sarah more. I want to hear the juice. I want to know all of the things you know about her.
She like didn't share like too much of her life with me. Like she would ask me for things and talk, but it was, when I'm trying to describe a situation where it's really awkward when you talk, like, when you're talking to somebody and you have like an ongoing conversation and it's like it doesn't end and it's like really good to talk with it. But with her, it's like you say something to her and instead of like replying back with like a reply, she'll talk about something else and be on a different page.
Really?
So, or she wouldn't even reply back to me and just stand there and it'd be kind of weird. So it would, our interactions were brief every time we met, but every time I would be outside, she always ran up to me and said, "Oh, I love your dog. I love your dog. You're so cute." And then I was thinking, like, why don't you ever like pet him? Or I said, "You can pet him if you want." I said that the first time to her, and she never pet him. I just find it very odd.
Could you tell she was drunk when she was interacting with you?
Oh yeah, she was like I said, I grew up with an alcoholic mother. She was always like anybody that comes out of their house dressed like the way she was dressed, like not matching their clothes, not looking like they're taking care of their hair, and it's like she looked like she just got out of bed and ran out. Like the way you seen her when the cops came, like that pink shorts, her like she looked very like her face was bloated. That's how I've seen her all the time. She stunk. Like I said, she stunk. She always looked like that. Like she looked like she got out of bed, like Pee Wee Herman on that movie, and just like ran out of the house. And she just like, And also, she talked about loving her dogs. I never seen her one freaking time take her dogs to the bathroom. She must have had them in the cages. I never seen her one time walking these freaking dogs ever. I didn't even know she had dogs. See,
that's interesting. When you were there, did she have that wire around the backside of her? They're like the chick. It's that real low to the ground chicken wire type thing on the back of her patio that went around her patio. Because I think she put the dogs out there.
No, like, okay, so when you're walking behind the apartments, there's like a big grassy area, but a lot of times I don't like really walking back there because a lot of people think you're staring in the back of their house.
Yeah.
But she didn't have any chicken wire, any furniture, anything back there at all. She had always cans of like cans. I think they were cans for like cigarettes because I smoked when I was in my 20s, and I would always have like cans out there to put the butts in.
Yeah.
She always had cans back there or beer bottles. So I never seen like that furniture that she was sitting on. Maybe you could tell she's like super weighted in that photo. Must have stolen it or whatever, but she did not have that in there.
In September, when they were when the police were called, the police had walked around to the back of the unit, and I did a video where I showed that to people. I'm like, y'all, look at the difference in her patio now. It's like it was bare, and she had like 2 little crappy lawn chairs that were like the beach chairs that sit really low into the sand, and that's all she had out there.
I should send you a picture of the chairs that got stolen. I'm pretty sure she stole them because the one day I put them out there to sit down to this kind of like, you know, because I'm from Hawaii and people they don't steal from you, and they help everyone out, and like everyone's very friendly. That's probably where I get it from. When I put these chairs out, I leaned them against, because we had a closet out there that we had like a little storage closet out there. When I leaned them against that thing, I should have just put them in there, but that was like at 7 at night. The very next day, they were gone.
Yeah.
When she said we're enjoying each other's company, like, you know, when she talked about this poor guy, I mean, she really degraded him about saying that he's missing his teeth and he's just like really sickly, and like, so this is the guy that you have sex with, that you really like act like you are like, you know, disgusted about this individual.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Crazy. Just was wondering if you had remembered anything else about her that you hadn't already told us.
When I would talk with her, she came across, like I said, like somebody I really could not trust. But I don't know, the one thing I didn't tell her, and I never discussed her with like my addiction. I never talked to her about anything about my addiction because I didn't feel comfortable telling her that, because I felt like she would tell me to the police, like, this, do something to jeopardize my living area, you know? The one time I did tell her that I wasn't on a lease, and that's when like things got fucked up between everything. So if they do contact me regarding that letter, do you want me to email you? And
well, let me know.
I'm pretty sure he'll probably email me or call me, and I can like forward the email, whoever emails me.
Yeah, let me know. I think he's going to probably ask you a couple of questions and see what you're going to be able to tell him. And
no, but I sent the letter to Sarah, so she's going to contact him and say, hey, James, contact him. He lived by me. I know who he is. And then if that guy contacts me, I'll just, you know, say I'll come down, and because I think right now they're going to probably need us, because he said in the thing that he's looking for neighbors. And when I originally heard him say that, I was like, well, maybe they'll contact me. I feel like I don't think they told her that she would get her cell phone back that day. I think she lied when she said that. I don't think that she said it because they said they needed it for their investigation, and they'll let her know, because she kept asking when she's going to get her phone back. Like, I don't think they told her to come to the station to get the phone.
yeah,
Like, you know what you're going there for. Like, she's like gripping all these straws. She's trying to like see what works. I mean, she's going to like screw herself in the end.
did you ever interact with Brian at all?
Was that?
Did you ever interact with Brian?
The only time I ever said anything to him is when they had a mattress, like that's a box spring, but this the mattress on top of the Kia tied, and he was having trouble taking it off. And I said, do you need help? And he just ignored me. But he looked at me, and he has like his eyes are kind of like I don't know, he has like cross-eyed, like his eyes are like he just like I know he heard me, and I said, do you need some help carrying that? And he just completely ignored me. I was kind of being nosy the first day they were moving in, because the way they were moving stuff in was kind of weird. And I know when she moved in, I didn't see any dog or George with her, but I seen that guy up there a lot. Like, why do you think that guy rushed over? I think she's got him whooped so bad that, I mean, he could have just told her F off. I'm going to not come over there. Why did he rush over there?
Yeah,
like, why did you like do anything to help her?
Yeah, I think he enabled her. A lot of people think he enabled her too much, and he probably did things for her, but I think he also did. Sometimes he would do things because they have their child together, and I that's the only way I can understand it, honestly.
Well, I had 3 kids with my ex-wife, and we have a pretty good relationship. And if I had a girlfriend that died, and I said, "Hey, can you come over now?" She would say, "No, that's your problem." She's not going to come over and drop everything. But yeah, like we co-parent good. We talk and we communicate. We don't fight. But I don't think she would ever drop everything and put everything away if she had a puppy and rush over to get me. I think he was like so whooped. And I think, honestly, she was probably still going over there having sex with him because I think, as a woman, I think she's probably still like giving him something for him to be like that.
Yeah, you could be right. I know she hung out at that bar across the way there. Did you ever go over there, and were you ever at that bar? Sam was at pool house or a bar. It was a pool house or a
there's
bar?
like, okay, so, well, at the time, there were a lot of like developments, but I know some people kept mentioning some bar. It's not like you come out of our apartment complex, you cross the street, there's a bar there. She never asked me to go to any bar, or she never even asked me if I drank, because I always talked about like my mom being alcoholic, and I said I hate alcohol because my mom, and I always made it clear that I didn't drink. So maybe that's why I didn't know she had a personal life other than walking around there asking for things. And
yeah,
the one thing she asked for a lot, and it was for she asked for all the time, because the maintenance people smoked, and they would always tell me that she would bum cigarettes off them all the freaking time. All the time. Usually in the morning and late at night, you would always catch her walking around barefoot. And, it was very odd. But are you going to do the thing this Monday when she goes back to court?
I'll probably stream in the morning to see if they show anything from the courtroom. But then when they start jury selection, there's going to be like tidbits here and there from court TV, and I'll probably put them together.
Yeah, people people like your channel a lot. Every time I look at another channel, they always like that guy reporting live from my sofa. You know, that guy that has his dog.
Yeah, I love him.
You know that. I think he's like. He mentioned your channel in his last video. He said he likes your thumbnails.
Aww.
He loves her thumbnails because you do really funny thumbnails, and then the introduction with her saying, "I don't know how when you make her look like a total loser." That's like hilarious too. The beginning when she's talking and you cut it all together.
It's like
it's
not that hard. She does all the work. I just edit it. I just piece it together.
I think, like I said, when she goes to court, like how long does these trials take? Like maybe a couple of weeks or what?
They say this trial could take possibly up to 3 weeks for this trial.
I mean, it's going to be probably a train wreck because I'm pretty sure Sarah's probably going to talk on stand, right? About.
Oh yeah, she has to get up.
I was hungover. I was worried about she's just going to ruin her. She's going to be the one that's going to send herself to prison. So,
yep.
It's going to be. I think it's going to be sweet justice when she gets convicted because everyone in the world wants her convicted. They can't stand her. Better than other people. That's why she talks shit about the Hispanic people that are here illegally. Like, do you see how she threw them under the bus? That's why I knew she threw me under the bus many times. So she doesn't have a problem telling people's business without thinking about the consequences of what's going to happen.
She throws everybody under the bus,
Yeah,
and she doesn't care.
So,
she'll use everything to her advantage for sure.
I don't think she performed CPR at all because if she would have performed CPR earlier, I think he would have released all those gases.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me, Tyler. I really appreciate it.
The girl that you do the live streams with, is she have you known her for a long time?
No, we just met. We just met this past year.
Oh, yeah. Anytime. Just if you need anything else, just contact me.
Okay. That sounds good. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I think the connection's skipping.
All right.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Well, hey, you take care. I got your cell phone number.
Give me a call if you need anything, or text or email me.
Sounds good. All right. Bye.